Jason had never felt fear and curiosity mixed like this before. The spaceship landed on the alien world with a soft hum, shaking the ground lightly under his boots. Everything around him glowed with a pale violet light, strange plants swaying in ways that seemed alive, yet deliberate, as if the forest itself were watching him. The colony had warned him about alien diplomats, telling him they were unpredictable and cautious. But Jason knew no words could prepare a human for a being like her. When the airlock opened, she stepped out. He couldn't take his eyes off her. She was tall, her skin a shimmering silver that reflected the twin suns above. Her eyes were large, violet, and seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. Yet there was softness in them, something vulnerable and human in expression that made Jason's chest tighten. Without thinking, he whispered to himself, almost instinctively, "She's really beautiful." For a heartbeat, he thought he was alone. He turned slightly, ashamed, thinking he had spoken aloud. But then her gaze found him. Violet eyes locked with his, curious and calm, yet piercing. And in a voice soft and clear, she said, "I heard." Jason froze. His heart pounded so loudly it felt like it would echo through the empty landing bay. He had always been careful about words, trained to be diplomatic and measured, but suddenly, every lesson felt useless. He stammered, I didn't mean to." "I wasn't speaking out loud." The alien woman tilted her head slightly, a small smile forming on her lips. "It is okay," she said, her voice gentle, melodic. "Your thoughts sometimes speak before your words. That is human." Jason felt a strange warmth at her understanding. Was she reading his mind? Or was she simply perceptive, sensitive to feelings in a way humans rarely were? Either way, he felt drawn to her. He noticed the subtle grace in the way she stood, the calm strength in her posture, and the unspoken curiosity in her gaze. Something about her presence commanded attention without demanding it. He stepped forward cautiously, trying to regain composure. "I'm Jason," he said. "I'm here as a diplomat. I hope I didn't offend you." "Offending?" she repeated, tilting her head as if trying to understand the word. "You only express truth. Truth is never offense." Her words struck him in a way he hadn't expected. Here he was, a human among aliens, trained to measure every word, every gesture, and yet she seemed to see him, not as a representative of Earth, not as a negotiator, but simply as a human being. And for the first time in weeks of interstellar travel, Jason felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Connection. The air around them seemed to shift, almost tangible, like a gentle current running between them. Jason realized that in this moment diplomacy and duty felt distant. He was no longer a representative of his people. He was a man standing before a being who, in a way he couldn't fully explain, understood him. For a long time, neither spoke. He watched her move slightly, each gesture controlled yet natural. He noticed the subtle curve of her lips when she observed him, the way her eyes softened as if inviting him to step closer. And when he did, slowly, cautiously, he felt the air tighten between them, a silent acknowledgement that something extraordinary had begun. In that first encounter, Jason understood something fundamental about humanity and the universe. It was not technology or weapons or diplomacy that defined a species. It was courage, curiosity, and the ability to connect with another being. And here, on an alien world standing before her, Jason realized that sometimes the greatest adventure was not exploring planets or stars, but discovering hearts. And Lyra, the alien woman, seemed to feel it too. Her gaze lingered on him, calm yet probing, as if testing whether he was worthy of the silent, unspoken trust she extended to him. Jason swallowed hard, knowing that in a single moment his life had changed forever. He had met someone extraordinary, and she had heard the whisper of his heart. Days passed, and Jason could not stop thinking about her. Her name, he had learned, was Lyra, a name that sounded like music even when spoken silently. Every meeting, every official negotiation, became a chance to see her again, to hear her voice, to notice the small details that made her extraordinary. He noticed the way her fingers moved with careful precision over her alien tools, the soft tilt of her head when she was curious, and the quiet way she seemed to notice him even when she spoke to others. Jason felt an unfamiliar stirring in his chest, a mixture of awe and longing. He wanted to speak to her more, to know her beyond diplomacy. But he reminded himself, she was alien, part of a species humans barely understood, and he was a diplomat. His instincts told him to stay professional. Yet every instinct of his heart pushed him closer. One evening, after a long day of discussions, Jason found himself walking near the colony's cliffs, the twin moons reflecting silver light on the water below. To his surprise, Lyra was there, standing alone, watching the moons. Her presence was calm, almost ethereal, yet it made the human in him feel alive in a way he had never known. "I did not expect to see you here," she said softly, her voice carrying across the gentle wind. I needed some air," Jason replied, trying to sound casual, though his heart thumped violently. "I guess I was hoping to find someone." Lyra's violet eyes studied him carefully. "Someone?" she asked, tilting her head, her voice curious yet gentle. Jason swallowed. "Yes, someone who understands. Someone who listens. Someone who sees me for who I really am, not just as a diplomat." For a moment, Lyra said nothing. The wind brushed her silver hair, and she seemed almost part of the alien night, a creature of grace and light. Then she took a step closer, careful yet deliberate, closing the small distance between them. "I understand more than you know," she said. "You do not need to hide your thoughts. I hear them sometimes even without words." Jason felt a shiver run down his spine. The fact that she could perceive him so deeply was terrifying and thrilling all at once. I don't know what to say," he admitted, feeling vulnerable. "It's strange. Being with you, I feel human in ways I haven't felt in a long time." Lyra's smile was soft, almost shy. "Then you are brave," she said. "To feel so deeply is bravery. You risk yourself, yet you allow your heart to speak. Few human, or aliens, can do that." The stars above seemed to shine brighter, the moons reflecting on the water like silver mirrors. Jason realized that being with Lyra was not just about attraction or curiosity. It was about recognition. Two beings from completely different worlds, daring to understand each other, daring to trust each other. Yet even in this growing connection, tension lingered. He noticed the subtle glances of other diplomats, the careful distance they kept, the quiet disapproval in whispered conversations. They warned him. His feelings could jeopardize negotiations, could make the humans look weak, could destabilize the delicate peace they were trying to build. But Jason did not care, because with Lyra he felt alive, truly alive. His heart raced not from fear or duty, but from the simple, terrifying beauty of her presence, her voice, her understanding. In the soft silence of the alien night, he realized that sometimes the most important missions were not written in treaties or laws. They were written in moments like this, fragile, fleeting, yet unforgettable. Lyra stepped even closer, until they were only a few feet apart. Her eyes reflected the moons, and Jason could see trust, curiosity, and something more. A glimmer of affection that made his chest ache with hope. In that quiet space, on an alien world under alien moons, Jason felt something he had never felt before. A bond, fragile yet unbreakable, forming across the distance of species, culture, and even stars. And as he looked into Lyra's eyes, he knew that this was only the beginning, because in the vast infinite universe, two hearts had found each other. The peace talks were supposed to be a formality, a bridge between human colonies and the alien worlds. But Jason had learned quickly that diplomacy was fragile, like glass stretched thin over a roaring fire. As he prepared for the session, he felt the familiar pull of anxiety and the longing to see Lyra before the crowd gathered. She arrived with her usual calm grace, her silver skin catching the light from the chamber, her violet eyes scanning the room. When her gaze met Jason's, a small smile flickered across her face. That smile, so subtle yet full of warmth, made his chest tighten. For a moment he forgot the tension around them, forgot the gravity of the negotiations. Then chaos erupted. A warning klaxon blared, sharp and deafening. Alarms lit the walls in red, casting harsh shadows across the room. Plasma weapons ignited in a flash, streaking across the chamber with lethal precision. The hostile alien faction, long suspected of wanting to sabotage the peace, had made their move. Screams and shouts filled the room. Diplomats dove for cover, and Jason felt a surge of fear unlike anything he had ever experienced. And then he saw her, Lyra, standing near the center, momentarily frozen. His instincts took over. Without thinking, he sprinted toward her, weaving through chaos, debris, and fire. He reached her just as a plasma bolt streaked toward her side. He grabbed her arm, pulling her behind a heavy console. The bolt hit the metal with a deafening crash, sending sparks and heat into the air. Her eyes were wide with shock and fear. "Jason," she whispered, her voice trembling, almost unheard over the alarms. "You're safe now," he said, trying to keep his voice steady, though adrenaline made it rise. "I've got you. Just stay close." The seconds stretched like hours as they crouched together.
Jason's
Enraged, not with strategy or negotiation, but with fear for her. Every instinct told him to protect her, to put her safety above everything else. He realized, in a way that terrified him, that he would do anything to keep her alive, even risk his own life without hesitation. Lyra looked at him, eyes full of astonishment. "You risk yourself then for me?" she asked, almost in disbelief. I can't let anything happen to you," Jason said, his voice shaking slightly. "Not after everything we've shared." The moment was brief. Another wave of attackers approached, and they were forced to move together side by side, ducking behind walls, dodging blasts, and using whatever cover they could find. Jason marveled at Lyra's calm precision under fire. She wasn't helpless. She was fierce and capable, but despite her skill, he could see her concern for him, her trust in his protection, and it made something inside him swell with emotion. When they finally found a temporary safe zone, their breathing ragged and hearts pounding, Jason looked at her. "You're okay," he said, almost like a prayer. Lyra nodded, and her voice was barely audible. "Because you stayed. You did not run. You stayed with me." Jason realized then that bravery wasn't just about facing danger. It was about choosing to care, to protect, to stand by someone else when fear screamed to run. And in that moment he felt more human than ever, more alive than ever. Lyra reached out, her hand brushing his, and Jason felt a jolt of warmth unlike anything he had ever known. In the chaos, amidst danger and destruction, they found something extraordinary: trust, connection, and the undeniable truth that they mattered to each other, above duty, above fear, above all else. As alarms faded and reinforcements arrived, Jason knew the incident had changed everything. Nothing in his life, no treaties, no protocols, no centuries of diplomacy, mattered as much as this. He had seen her not as an alien diplomat or a mysterious being, but as someone who had become important, someone he could not lose, and Lyra, standing beside him, with a mix of awe and gratitude in her eyes, knew it too. In the midst of fire and chaos, something fragile yet unbreakable had been forged. A bond between human and alien, trust that transcended worlds, and courage that arose not from power, but from the heart, Jason whispered to himself, not noticing that she could hear. "I'll protect you, no matter what." Lyra's gaze softened, and for a fleeting moment the universe outside the chamber seemed to vanish. It was just them, two beings standing together against impossible odds, discovering the extraordinary power of human courage and the simple, profound strength of connection. The aftermath of the attack left the colony tense and fragile. Negotiations were delayed, security was heightened, and Jason found himself unable to focus on anything except one thought: Lyra. He could not stop replaying the moment when he had pulled her to safety, the fear in her violet eyes and the unspoken trust that had passed between them. That moment had changed something inside him. Days later, Jason found Lyra standing near the observation deck, watching the alien moons drift slowly across the sky. She seemed calm, but he noticed her fingers fidgeting lightly, a sign of nerves, human or otherwise. His chest tightened at the sight, and he realized he could not hold back any longer. He had to speak. He had to tell her everything he felt, no matter the consequences. "Lyra," he said softly, approaching her. She turned, and when their eyes met, the world seemed to narrow, leaving only the two of them. "Can we talk?" She nodded, stepping aside to let him join her at the edge of the deck. The twin moons reflected on the water below, painting everything in silver light. Jason took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his emotions pressing on his chest. "I know this might sound strange," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm a human, you're you. We come from different worlds, different lives. I should be thinking about diplomacy, about rules, about what's right. But I can't stop thinking about you." Lyra tilted her head, her violet eyes soft and attentive. "You speak your truth," she said quietly. "That is rare. That is bravery." Jason swallowed hard, forcing himself to continue. I care about you, Lyra. I care about you more than I should, more than I ever thought I could care for anyone, and I can't pretend it doesn't matter, or that it doesn't change everything about how I see you." For a moment, the air was heavy with silence. The wind whispered across the observation deck, the distant stars blinking like knowing eyes. Jason's heart hammered in his chest, and he feared he had said too much, scared her away. Then Lyra stepped closer, her hand brushing his lightly. The gesture was tentative, yet full of meaning. "Jason," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "I have heard humans speak of love, of deep attachment between hearts. I thought it was fleeting or symbolic, but now with you I understand it. I feel it, and I feel it too." Jason felt a jolt of relief and warmth like sunlight breaking through clouds. His throat tightened as emotions he had buried for weeks poured out. You feel the same?" he asked, almost afraid to believe it. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with an emotion he could not name but instantly recognized. "Yes, I trust you. I feel safe with you, and I want to explore this, whatever it is, together." For the first time, Jason allowed himself to smile without hesitation. His chest swelled with a combination of joy, relief, and something deeper, a sense of belonging he had never known. "I promise," he said softly. "I'll protect you, I'll stand by you, and I'll never hide how I feel again." Lyra's smile was small but radiant, and it felt to Jason like the universe itself was smiling back. She reached out fully this time, letting her hand rest in his. The connection was electric, a bridge between two worlds. A bond neither species could define, yet both understood instinctively. As they stood together under the alien moons, Jason realized something profound. Love, trust, and courage were not limited by species, politics, or fear. They were universal truths, stronger than any treaty, braver than any soldier, and more enduring than any law. Lyra squeezed his hand gently. "We are from different worlds," she said, "but our hearts, they speak the same language." Jason nodded, feeling tears prick at the corners of his eyes. "Yes, and I'm ready to listen forever." In that moment, the chaos of the past days, the fear, the danger, the endless political tension, all of it faded into insignificance. What mattered was this: two beings standing together, trusting one another, daring to feel despite everything the universe could throw at them. And for Jason, for Lyra, for the first time, the impossible felt possible. The days that followed Jason's confession were filled with quiet moments of joy, but they were shadowed by tension. The colony's council had not been pleased with his attachment to Lyra. Whispers followed him in the corridors, and some of the diplomats treated him differently, as if his feelings were a weakness that could endanger the fragile peace. Jason tried to ignore them, but it was difficult. Every time he saw a council member's disapproving glare, he felt a pang of guilt and doubt. He questioned himself silently. Was he foolish to care for Lyra? Was he risking everything he had worked for? And yet, when he looked at her, when he saw the gentle curve of her lips, the soft sparkle in her violet eyes, the way she trusted him without hesitation, he knew he could not turn back. Lyra noticed his unease. One evening, she found him alone on the observation deck, staring out at the alien moons. "Jason," she said softly, her voice cutting through the hum of the colony systems. "Why do you look troubled?" He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "It's everyone else," he admitted. "They think I'm reckless, that my feelings for you could hurt the colony, hurt the humans. They don't understand. They can't understand." Lyra stepped closer, her presence calming him in ways words never could. "I do not care what they think," she said simply. "I trust you. I am with you. That is enough." Jason felt a lump in his throat. Her words were simple, yet they carried more weight than any council decree. He realized then that courage was not just fighting in battle or negotiating treaties. Courage was standing by someone you cared about even when the universe seemed to oppose you. But the resistance did not fade. A formal warning arrived from the Human Council, instructing Jason to limit contact with Lyra during negotiations. Some of the alien diplomats looked at him with suspicion, murmuring behind his back about divided loyalties. Even the security personnel seemed wary, as if his personal feelings made him vulnerable. Jason clenched his fists. He had trained for decades to represent humanity, to negotiate, to protect human interests, and yet no training had prepared him for this, protecting his heart while defending love in a world that saw attachment as weakness. One night, as he paced the corridors, Lyra found him again. She reached for his hand without hesitation. "Jason," she said, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "Do you doubt yourself? Do you doubt what we share?" Jason shook his head, though his voice trembled slightly. "I don't doubt you, I doubt if we can survive the world around us. They don't understand us. They might try to tear us apart." Lyra smiled, a serene, unwavering expression that made his chest ache. "Then we will show them. We will survive. Not because we are stronger than them, but because our bond is stronger than fear, stronger than rules, stronger than doubt." Her words were simple, yet they ignited something in him, a fire of resolve, a reminder that humanity was not defined by fear or caution, but by courage, love, and the will to stand for what mattered. Jason took a deep breath. He realized that love was not weakness. It was the most human thing he had ever felt. And in standing by Lyra, he was embracing the best of humanity, the empathy, bravery, and loyalty that no threat, no counsel, and no distant galaxy could ever erase. That night, as they stood together under the twin moons, Jason whispered to himself, a quiet vow he did not intend anyone to hear. "I will protect her, no matter what they say, no matter what happens." Lyra heard it, of course, and she squeezed his hand gently, letting him know without words that she would stand by him too. In the silence of the alien night, amidst resistance, doubt, and fear, they made a silent promise to each other, a promise that love, courage, and humanity, qualities Jason embodied fully, could withstand any challenge, any judgment, any obstacle that the universe might place in their path. And for the first time, Jason truly understood what it meant to be human. Not perfect, not fearless, but brave enough to care, to love, and to fight for what was right, even when the world told him he was wrong. Weeks passed, and Jason felt the weight of distance pressing on him. Lyra had been called back to her people for urgent council matters, leaving him with nothing but memories and the echo of her words. Each day he wandered the colony, his mind returning to the moments they had shared, the soft glow of her eyes, the quiet conversations under the alien moons, the trust in her every gesture. It was a torment to be so near, yet so far. The council continued to watch him closely, their disapproval almost suffocating. They whispered about attachments, about distractions, about how his feelings might endanger the fragile peace he was sworn to maintain. But Jason refused to let their fear dictate his heart. Lyra was not a distraction. She was the reason he could continue, the reason he could endure the cold eyes and whispered warnings. Then one evening, the colony's main gates opened. Jason was inspecting the perimeter when he saw her. Lyra walked through the gates, moving with the same calm grace that had captivated him from the beginning. Her silver skin reflected the lights, her violet eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on him. In that moment, the noise of the colony, the whispers of the council, and the distant stars all faded. She moved toward him, ignoring the murmurs around them, ignoring the stares of those who doubted. Jason's heart leapt. He ran to her, stopping only when he was close enough to see the faintest curve of her lips in a smile. "I heard your thoughts," she said softly, her voice carrying the same gentle strength he had fallen for. "I heard everything, and I choose you, despite the worlds that say otherwise." Jason felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He had waited for this moment, hoped for it, and now it was real. "Lyra," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "I've been waiting for you. Every day, every moment I thought of you. I never stopped, never once." She reached for his hand, letting her fingers intertwine with his. "And I waited too," she said. "I have seen many things with my people, learned many truths, but my heart, it has been with you all along." The council and the other diplomats were watching, but neither of them cared. This was no longer about politics or power. This was about trust, about choice, about two beings from different worlds daring to stand together in a universe that told them they could not. Jason's chest swelled with pride and love, not just for Lyra, but for what humanity had given him, the courage to speak, to act, and to feel deeply even when it seemed impossible. Being human meant more than surviving, more than negotiating treaties. It meant daring to connect, to trust, and to love in the face of fear. Lyra squeezed his hand gently, her eyes shining with quiet determination. "We are different," she said. Different in ways the universe will never fully understand. But our hearts, they understand each other. Jason nodded, feeling a sense of completeness he had never known. He had faced danger, fear, and disapproval, but it had all led to this moment. Here, under alien skies, standing together against doubt and distance, he realized the true meaning of bravery. Not fighting alone, but standing with someone you care for, choosing them every day, no matter what the world says. He leaned closer, his forehead touching hers lightly. "We will face everything together," he whispered. "And I will never let go." Lyra smiled, a serene, radiant smile that made the stars seem dim by comparison. "And I will never let you go," she replied. As the alien moons reflected on the water, they stood hand in hand, two beings from separate worlds bound by trust, courage, and love. The universe around them was vast and uncertain, but within the space between them there was certainty. There was connection. There was hope. Jason realized then that humanity was more than strength or intelligence. Humanity was the capacity to care, to risk, to protect, and to love, even across galaxies, even when the universe itself whispered that it was impossible. And in that quiet, perfect moment, he understood the truth he had whispered to himself weeks ago. She was truly beautiful, not just in form but in spirit, courage, and heart, and now she was his. The colony was alive with tension that day, the air thick with politics and whispered judgments. Jason and Lyra stood side by side in the main chamber, facing the council and representatives from both human and alien worlds. Their hands were clasped, a quiet symbol of unity and trust. The room hummed with expectation, some skeptical, some curious, but none could deny the strength in their presence. Jason took a deep breath. He had learned that being human was not just about surviving danger or speaking well in meetings. It was about courage, the courage to care, to trust, and to stand for what mattered. And today he would show that courage, not through weapons or words, but through honesty and heart. "Council members," he began, his voice steady despite the storm of judgment around him. "I know that my actions and attachments may seem unorthodox, but humanity has always been defined by one thing above all: the ability to choose, to connect, to care for others. I care for Lyra, and I choose to stand with her. Not for politics, not for recognition, but because it is right." The chamber went silent, eyes widened. Some frowned, others murmured, but Lyra did not flinch. She lifted her head, her violet eyes meeting his with calm certainty. Jason felt strength radiate from her, a silent affirmation that they were in this together, no matter the judgment or doubt surrounding them. Lyra spoke next, her voice gentle but unwavering. "I am Lyra, an envoy of my people. I have seen many humans and I have observed much about your species. I have learned that courage is not only in battle or diplomacy. True courage is in the heart, the ability to trust, to care, and to love even when it is difficult or dangerous. Jason has shown me this courage. He has shown me what it means to be human." Whispers filled the chamber, but the energy had shifted. The human counselors, seeing her confidence and words, softened their stance. The alien delegates, recognizing her authority, nodded with quiet respect. Two worlds divided by species and culture were beginning to understand something profound. Connection and trust transcended all barriers. Jason felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. Humans were often underestimated, seen as fragile or reckless. But in this room under alien skies, Jason realized that humans had something extraordinary: the ability to care, to love, to risk everything for truth and heart. And that ability, so simple yet so powerful, could change the universe. Lyra's hand squeezed his gently, a grounding reminder that they were not alone. "We are different," she whispered, "but we are stronger together. Our hearts speak a language that no species can ignore." Jason nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "And we will keep listening, keep trusting, keep standing together no matter what." As they turned to face the council together, something remarkable happened. The whispers softened, and a few of the council members stepped forward with cautious acceptance. The walls of doubt and suspicion began to crumble, replaced by recognition of something older and stronger than politics: the bond between hearts, the proof that courage and humanity could shine brighter than fear. Outside, the twin moons reflected on the water, casting a soft silver light over the colony, Jason and Lyra stepped out onto the observation deck, breathing freely for the first time in weeks. Their fingers remained intertwined, their gazes locked. For a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath, acknowledging the rare and extraordinary connection between them. Jason whispered, almost to himself but with all the conviction of his heart, "You're beautiful. Not just in form but in spirit. And together we can face anything." Lyra smiled, resting her head lightly against his shoulder. "Yes, Jason, together." In that moment, Jason understood the full meaning of being human. It was not just survival, intelligence, or power. It was hope, courage, empathy, and the willingness to care deeply, even when the stars seemed vast and indifferent. It was the bravery to love across worlds, to trust despite fear, and to stand unwavering when the universe told you it was impossible. And as the alien moons glimmered above them, Jason and Lyra walked forward, hand in hand, proof that humanity, fierce, compassionate, and brave, could shine brighter than any star across any galaxy, and into any heart willing to embrace it. The adventure was far from over. But together they had begun a new journey, one not dictated by fear, politics, or distance.